Alright, good morning, Warthogs. My name's Toby. I am on the board for the Warthogs Homebrew Club, and I'm really missing the meetings and missing everybody. And so we're going to try something today. It's going to be rough. It's going to be my first attempt, but I'm going to do some chronicling of a brew day on my Grainfather. I'm going to make a big stupid beer, a big Imperial Stout, which is probably a terrible beer to try to demo because whenever I push the limits of the amount of grain I put in the Grainfather, it usually doesn't end up very well. But it's going to be fun. We have a little GoPro that we got for a vacation we had to cancel because of everything going on right now. So we're going to put it to good use, and we're going to share a demo because we haven't been able to get together and do a demo together lately. So I'm going to really hope it goes well. My first time editing video, first time doing any of this stuff. It's going to be a nightmare, but we'll try to do more in the future if it goes not as bad as I'm anticipating it's going to go. So we'll see. But cheers. Okay, so here we have Beersmith 2 open, where we built up our Imperial Stout recipe. This is based off of a recipe I brewed a couple of years ago that ended up scoring really well in Wody and at the Fresno Fair. That was actually a triple mash brew day. We're just going to do a double mash brew day. The reason why we're doing a double mash on the Grainfather is because this is going to be about 28 pounds of grain. It's actually 27 because there's a pound of dextrose I'm going to throw in there. But Grainfather, I don't like putting more than 16 pounds of grain in it. It says it can hold about 18, 19, but it gets really dicey when it's around that big. So I'm going to do two 13.5-pound mashes. So as you can see, we're going to just split all the grains right down the middle. So 20 pounds mariscal will be 10, 2 pounds of flaked oats will be 1 per mash, etc. So we've got a couple different types of crystal malts, a couple different types of roasted malts, some special B. We've got 3 ounces of high alpha acid warrior because I really want those IBUs. As you can see down here, it's going to be 109.6 by 110 IBUs. I've made a lot of sweet high ABV, high gravity beers when I didn't hop enough. So I've kind of learned that it seems like it's high, but it's going to be really good, especially in a beer that's anticipated to come out to be about 13% ABV. Um, we are going to use the Hornadal Kveikis on this one from Omega. I've used it a lot in my IPAs. This is the first time I'm going to do it in a stout. It says it can take the alcohol. I'm not going to push it temperature-wise like I do with my IPAs. I'm not going to wrap it with the heater and have it go up to 95 to 100 degrees. I'm just going to let it go ambient room temperature here in the house. Upper 70s probably, maybe 80 with the little bit of thermal reaction heat going on during fermentation. We'll see how it goes. I'm expecting it to come out well. If I get a little fruity character from it, from the yeast, it'll be maybe a tropical imperial stout. So really looking forward to see how it turns out. But yeah, I use Beersmith 2. I've been using it for years. It says 6-gallon batch size, pre-boil 7.4. That's just kind of eh. Uh, the Grainfather and Beersmith 2, I haven't really settled on an equipment profile. I'm actually going to aim for about 5.5 gallons into the fermenter, and I know I'll probably need about 6.5 gallons pre-boil. It kind of messes with the efficiency, um, especially doing the 2 different mashes. I know it's going to be low, so I have that down low. Usually, my regular beers, when I have my equipment profile, for like my IPAs, I'm only using 12 pounds of grain. I get, mid 70s, and it's consistent, which is all you can really ask for. But yeah, so next step, we're going to move over to building up the water profile in Easy Water Calculator. So as you can see here, I use Easy Water Calculator for my brewing water uh, calculations. I've never used Brew and Water. I've heard good things about that. This is just the first one that I started using, and I've just stuck with it. So it works really well for me. One of my biggest improvements for my brewing has been treating my water. I do start from distilled water, which is an added expense to each brew day, but the final outcome has been really worth it. Maybe someday I'll buy a really nice RO system and put in the house because after enough batches it'll pay for itself for the money I spend on distilled water. But anyways, so what I've done here is based on the recipe, I've halved all my additions. So I'm just going to treat the first mash with the distilled water. I'm going to treat it as if I'm making basically half of my Imperial Stout. So we've got the Maris Otter, the two different types of crystal, the oats, and then I believe I put the Special B as a 180 crystal in there. I think I've done that before, and then just 1 pound of roasted barley in there. So this is actually kind of like the recipe. The water calculation is based off that same Imperial Stout. I got about the same resulting profile, 1.27 chloride to sulfate, right on the, it's still in balance, but it's towards the malty end. Mash pH, about 5.5. So my additions are, for the mash, gypsum, calcium chloride, and Epsom salt. I don't need to add any acid malt or lactic acid. pH is good, no buffering, no mashup, no baking soda. That's all I've ever used for mashup is baking soda. Yeah, so here we are. Like I said, I start from distilled. I got about 5.25 gallons of distilled in the initial mash, and then about 4.75 sparge. I will treat the whole volume of sparge water, although I'm just going to sparge half and half. It's a little bit less, but it all results in the same. So this is really easy to use. What I'll do when I first started was I would just look up what's a good, profile for the style of beer. So that's helped a lot with my New England hazy IPAs. Say, okay, what do I need for my chlorides and my sulfates? And this thing makes it really easy based on your input. How to make good water profiles. So highly recommend Easy Water Calc. I'm sure brewing water is just as good if you want to sit down and take the time to learn it. But this has been the biggest thing for me, is making sure my water is good and starting from the distilled and building up my water profiles for the style of beer I'm making.
Alright, here's an overview of the equipment we'll be using today for our big old Imperial Stout Brew Day. Here's the Grainfather, some extra kettles, all the stuff, tons of grain, hops, distilled water. Here's my grain mill. A quick little overview before we get started this morning. Eight ounces of C120. Okay, I'm going to do a chocolate rye. Alright, first up we're going to add some gypsum. We're going to need to measure out 2 grams for the mash. Perfect. 2 grams of gypsum. Five grams of calcium chloride. Oops, a little bit over. It's okay. Close enough. And 2 grams of Epsom salt. Perfect. And then finally, we need, well actually no, we took the baking soda out because our numbers are good, so no baking soda. Cool. Goes the mash water in, and then, alright, I'll mix that in. You should actually need to get the recirculating on there. Get that mixed up. And now we will measure out estimated sparge additions, which I'm going to tweak a little bit because I might use a little bit more sparge water. No, that'll be good. I'm actually going to change that down too. Alright, now rinse and repeat based off the calculations which I've shown on screen. 1.8. .5 calcium chloride. And another 1.8 of Epsom salts. Close enough.
Okay.
Alright, just assembling the Grainfather a little bit. I like to get a little bit of the grain dust on the gasket. It helps it slide into place a little easier. And it usually never works the first try, but holy crap, nice.
Okay.
That literally never happened in the video. I was like, oh, this is a nightmare. Oh, I need to measure out a pound of oats still. Simpson. Resort wood. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to use this yet. Yeah. We'll cut it. Alright, so you want to get it up in here. Got the malt pipe and the overflow control for when we do mash in. And then we can just go ahead and put this into the water. I use the paint strainer bag over the grain basket because this has a tendency to loosen and get a lot of debris in the boil. So this is a really cheap fix that saves a big headache on brew day when you're using the Grainfather. mashing in. Got the first mash, I believe it's about 13.5 pounds of grain. We'll add some grain to the Grainfather here, maybe about a quarter of it. Stir it in, break up any dough balls, and rinse and repeat. Can you see the grain or no?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Added about 1/2 pound of rice hulls. There's the real fine stuff. The bottom. This is going to start to thicken up nicely. There we go. Check to see a few little grain clumps. Probably a little bit of a thinner mash overall than I would normally do, but since I'm going to be adding a second round to it and there's not enough room to sparge fully between each, that's why. Just be a little bit thinner, so when we add a big... Okay. It's going to get pretty thick. I need you to pour some of that water in here.
Nah, it'll... Oh yeah, that looks nice.
Some clumps in there. Really mash in good. Really stir this mash. think it's pretty much good.
Looks nice.
Yeah, I think we're good. So,
Next you bang the gong.
add the top plate here. Take off that. That. Alright, we're about halfway through the first round of mashing, holding steady, a little low, 150, trying to get as many fermentables as possible. See if we can sneak a peek in here. Oh, Jesus. Alright, we got the pump recirculating, everything's looking good. Have had no issues whatsoever. Lol. Alright, the obligatory homebrew while you brew. I have, if you can see that, a 2018 chocolate rye stout. Holding up quite well. Cheers. Alright, doing our first round of sparging. Just going to do about a half sparge so we can use the mash water that's all sugary for the second mash.
Okay, this is mash round 2.
Yeah, you can see we've got a nice level of wort. We can make a really good beer out of this right now. But instead, we're going to add another 14 pounds of grain to this and do another round of mash called a reiterated. Is what you say after a few beers. Reiterated.
Mashy. Well, that was easy.
The end.
Ooh, the dark stuff down there.
This is a modified version of a Imperial Stout I did a couple years back that scored really well in Wody and the fair. I did a triple mash day that day, and I vowed to never do that again. So we're going to do double mash and see how it turns out. Hopefully that really Irish music in the background isn't too loud. Oh, there's all that roasted coffee smell. Whew.
So we've made dog treats out of this spent grain before. Turned out pretty good.
Yeah?
Except our dog is allergic to peanut butter, so we couldn't use them.
Because we made it with peanut butter.
He's anything.
It was pretty easy. It was like the spent grain and then like a jar of peanut butter. Like you don't use all the grain, but you know, however much. And then like an egg or two.
You just bake them
And
until
then you
they're
bake
dried
it
out.
really slow, so you're pretty much just dehydrating them.
Would you guys care for some almond butter?
Almond butter.
I'd like some almond.
My brother-in-law was working there almond company for a bit, and he brought back like a crap load of almond butter, and it's like we've only gone through just like halfway to the first one, and we have like 7 more.
Yeah, I like
What if the apocalypse happens?
And then, you know what? I'm not eating almond butter. I mean, it tastes like almonds, but you know. You got, like,
Do you have that top plate, Tom?
Should be good.
Is that it down there?
There.
do that.
And that's pulled up nice and tall, right?
Not gonna fall for that again.
Yeah, look at that.
Ta-da!
Look at
I explained how we had no issues whatsoever with the first mash.
fucking perfect car, right?
Excuse me, ma'am. Success.
Woo!
Alright, here we go. Done with the second mash. We're doing the second round of sparging. Looking good, going nice and slow. We're aiming for about 6.5 gallons before boil. 6.5 to 7 will be fine. I can adjust my boil time based on how much I have. So I did a little bit less than half the sparge water after the first mash, and it's still nice and thick for the second mash. Looking good, starting to clear out a little bit. A little cheaty thing I could do for the Grainfather is I like to bump up the temperature to boil or close to a boil during the sparge process, since it's slow to get to a boil, being a standard electric outlet brew system. Alright, here we are. We are done with our second round of sparging, and you probably won't be able to see it in there, but we are just about 6.5 gallons, which is perfect. So we'll boil for about 60 minutes, and we'll end up with about 5.5 gallons into the fermenter if everything goes well. Looking nice and stouty, nice and murky, just like we like our big Imperial Stouts. And we're coming up to a boil, about 193, 212. Alright, I just got the alarm. We're up to a boil. It's kind of going back and forth between 211 and 212. So we're going to go heavy with the bittering hops. As you can see in the recipe, I've got 3 ounces of high alpha acid warrior. And we are going to just dump those right in. Give it a stir. And yes, this is a wooden cooking spoon because my brew spoon broke in my last recipe. Oh geez, we're getting a little foggy. And I forgot to replace it. So we're just going to do a little mini whirlpool here, get those going. And then we're going to have Alexa be smart for us and ask her to do a 45-minute timer so we can start adding our other additions. Alexa, 45-minute timer. She's not listening. It's okay. Let's add a bunch of yeast nutrient to this bad boy in our convenient new brew location where our counterflow chiller will actually hook up. And we're going to use our mash paddle to stir this in because our brew spoon is unbroken. Pick that up. We are running our wort through our counterflow chiller pump, get everything nice and sanitized before we cool into the fermenter. Alright, we are done with the boil. We added our yeast nutrient and our sugar, And now we are pumping via the counterflow chiller from the sink into our SS Brew Tech brew bucket. Nice and sanitized, everything looking good. Been kind of a stressful brew day with the double mash and everything. So hopefully this beer turns out good. I do need to check the gravity post boil. Go grab my refractometer. Alright, so I'm going to check our refractometer. Got a little bit of water here. We'll see how we did efficiency wise. Alright, looks like we're about 26.2, which puts us about, looks like 10, just over 1.100. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, so 5. I'm not sure. I'll have to do the calculations on that, but I got 26.2 on the refractometer. Right. Some Omega Hornindal Kvike, our Kvike Imperial Stout, the first time. I'm going to come get a zoom in on this, Miss Sarah. We've got a nice full fermentation kettle, and we're going to pitch the whole pouch. It's an older pouch from November, so it's about 7 months old. It's Kvike yeast, it should be fine. It should be able to handle the alcohol. It should be a bit of an overpitch, and it's going to turn out freaking amazing. Should get some fruity tropical notes. I'm going to ferment it hot, so it might be like an imperial tropical stout, but I'm going to let it age for quite a while, so those notes will probably subside a little bit as well, but it's going to be awesome. Now I'm using my NorCal Brewing Solutions blow-off CO2 airlock sort of deal. It comes off the fermenter. Whoops, it's still really wet from the sanitizer. The whole thing is it's supposed to create a barrier of CO2. It works really well for my IPAs. I'm going to use it for the stout this time. Keep as much oxygen out. The main way it works is actually when I'm emptying the fermenter into the keg. It keeps it, it's supposed to keep the oxygen out in theory. It seems to work with my IPAs. It helps keep a little bit of the oxidation color out of my hoppy beers, but like I said, we're going to do it with the stout. We're fermenting in the pantry with the Kvike yeast because I want it to be hot. There's no AC vent in here. There's no temperature control. I want this to ferment hard and fast and quick so I can get the secondary aging aspects of the stout going. We're talking our Maker's Mark soaked oak cubes and our vanilla bean tincture that I'll be making. And I really need to make sure that stops doing that. But yeah, it's going to be good. I've had really good luck with this yeast with my IPAs, so we'll see how it does in a stout.
Alright, so here we are, Warthogs. I'm at the video editing stage of the brew day. I'm just wrapped up putting it all together. The video editing went okay. It's all cheap, free software, so nothing professional or anything. It was an interesting brew day. I'm really looking forward to tasting this beer when it's ready. I'm glad to be able to share it with you. If I want to chronicle some more brew days, I'll work on, some better quality. The audio on the little GoPro thing wasn't very good. I need to speak up or maybe get another mic or something when we do that, if we do that again. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to our meetings together again, seeing everybody, hanging out. Hopefully everything gets back to normal soon so we can resume our regular meetings. And looking forward, we had some really good plans for the pub crawl this year. Hopefully that still works out. But on behalf of the board and everybody, we look forward to seeing you, and happy brewing. And if you guys have any questions about anything that I've done, message me, comment, whatever. I'm, help where I can. So happy brewing. Cheers, guys.